Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Storytime at the Roo Bus. My name is Celia Jenkins with Roo Fitness, and I am taking over the podcast today. So my guest today is our favorite, Daniel and Sharla.
Hey guys, what's up? What you been up to?
What's up? Welcome to the podcast, even though it's your podcast.
Well, I am going to metaphorically let you drive this week. You can drive the actual bus one of these days if you want to. It's not that hard.
Oh my gosh, I would love to.
Just picture a car, but way bigger.
Right? Like a bus?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
I just got to teach you to take care of the corners. That's all you got to worry about.
Oh, Lord, I can only imagine.
So, Celia, what's been going on with you?
Oh, gosh. So much has been going on behind the scenes. Still rocking out the hair thing. Got my own business, doing hair. I even had Bonnaroo, Seth, come in for his haircut because he just moved to Nashville.
And
he needed to get his hair taken care of. And I was like, homie, let's go. Come see me.
I want to do that one of these days. I want to get my hair cut at your place. Hey, let's start out with a plug. Where is your place? Where can people come and see you for all of their hair needs?
I am in the heart of Nashville. So if you're familiar with Nashville, there are like little sub-communities within Nashville. So I am in the Melrose 8th Avenue area. So we're right down the street from Zanies. It's a comedy club. And there's a really cool bar across the street called Cinema. And I have my own studio in a Sola salon. So it's my own space, my own chair, and we can just hang out, do some hair, shenanigans, and just have a good time.
Are you staying busy? I know last time I talked with you a lot about it, you were like pretty much booked up for forever, it felt like.
Oh my gosh, yes. So that has kind of subsided in a good way. For a while, gosh, I was booked almost 6 months in advance with no breaks.
Wow.
Nothing in between, just like go, 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 which if you think about it in a business, that's great because, you've got your finances coming in, you have the solid people coming in, but also I don't have time to take a break or have a sick day or like go and have a weekend to go with friends because I'm booked for the next 6 months. But it has adjusted in a very positive way. So I have a little more flexibility and I'm able to kind of take a breath and just really enjoy the process of what I'm doing. So yeah, things are great.
When you're your own boss, it's hard to ask the boss for a day off.
You're not wrong. It's like, hey, yo, boss, can I have a day off?
Like, no, we're too busy.
What does a day off look like?
Well, you've had time off. You've been on some travels too. I saw you guys went out west. Maybe you can give me some pointers on where to stop at.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, we went out west a couple of times. We went to Zion last year, which was phenomenal. And then this past spring, we went to Yosemite, which was also phenomenal. And at the end of September, I'm going back to Zion.
Oh, crap. Yeah, you're all over the place.
Yeah.
Now, wait, where did you stay at one of the camps in Yosemite? It is one of my favorite places in the world. I was so jealous you got back over there.
I would have loved to stay in the camps at Yosemite, but since it was our first time going out there, we weren't too familiar with kind of the setup and the layout of everything. But we did find a small section of Airbnbs that are inside the national park gates. I don't know how they did that. Like legally, that like they can't do that. But there's a small section that is privately owned, and it was maybe a 10-minute drive to the front gates.
That's amazing. I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
it's a good find.
It's a good spot. Oh, it's a good spot. If you or anybody want that recommendation, send me a DM on Roo Fitness, and I will send you that link ASAP.
Okay, if you ever make the trip back over there, I gotta get up with you. Maybe we can. Awesome. Maybe we can do a group trip. I've been dying to go back over there. I love Yosemite.
Gosh, oh, it's beautiful, and those huge sequoia trees.
It doesn't look like something that belongs on this planet.
No, it doesn't. It absolutely does not. And same thing with Zion. Like it's just completely all that, like just dark copper, red rocks all over the place. It looks like you're on Mars.
I'm excited for that kind of thing. Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be good. So good. Well, shall we dive in to the real reason that we're here?
Yes, please.
Okay, so usually we're always talking about Bonnaroo and everything Bonnaroo, which we love. That's why we're here. But we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about Burning Man. Because you guys are going, what, next week?
Yeah, so we're recording this Monday evening. We're leaving probably about 2 or 3 o'clock on Friday. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So this question really goes for you and Sharla, mainly Sharla. But my first question, where did you come from and where did you go?
For a lifetime.
Oh my God.
You tell her about it.
The what was it? The cosmic tent?
Galactic
Giddy Up. Yeah, oh yeah, Galactic Giddy Up.
If I have to hear that song one more time, I'm going to throw it out the window. It was like every morning at 4 a.m. when I came back to the bus. It would be like that stupid Cotton Eye Joe remix.
Now, for those who don't know what we're talking about, where was Galactic Giddy Up and what was this that we're talking about?
It was right next to the bus, like literally like the bus was parked at the end of group camping.
Maybe like the very 50 feet away.
Yeah, and it was like, boom, right there next to it. Like maybe like 50 steps away, more like.
I felt like I was on Broadway in Nashville.
And I usually turned in kind of early because I was getting tired. And every single night, it was between that and Boot Scootin' Boogie. Every
Boot Scootin' Boogie.
You did not get down and turn around.
No. And marathon, but there would be like maybe 10 people maximum over there.
I think that's generous to say 10.
No, I went over there one night.
Oh, you did?
One night, I did.
I didn't know about this.
I'm give this a chance.
Not for you. What if we go to Burning Man and somebody is playing that?
Oh my gosh, stop it.
It's a country themed group there.
Let's see if we can find it.
No, it would have been great in that Nashville barn. That would have been fun.
Just imagine y'all are going across the playa and all of a sudden you hear, where did you come from? Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cotton Eye Joe.
I would immediately turn around. There are many other options for things to get into.
You wouldn't just gravitate towards it, feeling like you're back on the farm? What do you mean?
Look, we live in Alabama. I'm leaving Alabama.
Y'all bye.
Yeah.
Okay. Goodness. So for really kind of segueing everything, and before we start diving into all of the excitement, all of the things about Burning Man, because this is a completely new territory for a lot of us here. I want to ask you guys now I'm using air quotes, past Daniel and Sharla, what do you want to tell, air quotes, future Daniel and Sharla?
Oh, wow.
For Burning Man, like what is something that you hope to see or experience that you can go back and reference this podcast as currently your past to your future self?
Oh man, that's a great question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So I'll kind of compare it to like how we planned this out at Bonnaroo. So when we go to Roo, I know a good handful of artists that I want to see, and I've looked at the schedule and I've kind of planned out how I'm going to tackle that. I leave room for exploring, of course, but it's kind of like, let's say 50-50, give or take each day or whatever. But Burning Man, we are purposefully going in with not planning like 80 to 90% of our time there. Mm-hmm. Like once we get there, we're just going to get on the bikes, wander around, see what we can get into. Like partially because this is all a new experience and we want to just like eat it up, drink it up. But also like it's different there. Things aren't really planned specifically. So you have to be able to go with the flow more.
So this is a storytelling podcast. So I was reading a story about this girl. She had went to Burning Man and she's been going for years and years and years. And this was like all the way back in like 1999 or something. And she had volunteered as a ranger at Burning Man, which is
kind of their version of like park rangers, cops, something exactly, like that. Yeah.
So she had volunteered as a ranger at Burning Man and she was just not having it. She was just having a terrible time. She had got into a fight with her boyfriend and just having a really cruddy time. And she ran into this guy one night and I don't remember exactly, forgive me, but he said some really inspirational quote to her. And it was something like, the beauty that you see here is what you need here or what you'll take with you or something to that effect. And she was like, oh, that's amazing. And it instantly cheered her up. And so the very next day, they had their little ranger meeting. And she was introduced to Larry Harvey, who is one of the founders of Burning Man.
Oh.
And it was the same guy
Wow.
who told her that.
That was that guy.
Yes.
Wow.
Stop it.
Yes. And so I thought about, when I read that story, I thought about that guy that I've told the story like so many times that helped me out in 2013, that held out his hand and said, are you okay? When I was having a really bad time in 2013. I thought about that and I was like, what if that guy was like somebody really, really important at
with
Bonnaroo?
AC Entertainment or something like that.
Yeah, right.
So you never know.
I'm probably not going to have that experience, but that type of experience. But just I hope that I really like Burning Man. So that's what I would tell myself. I hope that I really like it and that I don't have any like negative experiences. I hope that I don't go out there and just be like, oh, I got to get through this. I just hope that I enjoy it.
Yep, fair enough. Oh, that is such a great story. Wow. Like that just kind of hits a chord in so many ways, you never know what kind of small love nugget from a stranger will do to completely shapeshift your entire day and mindset,
That's part of like what drives the community there. They have the 10 principles, kind of like how we have the code. And one of the principles is gifting. And they don't necessarily mean that in terms of like a material thing. They mean that in terms of like, you can gift someone a moment, like Sharla was just talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good. That is some good stuff. So speaking of all of that, let's kind of talk about like the history of Burning Man, kind of what it started out as and what it has created to be to today. Do you know much of the history behind Burning Man? Like, what's the story of it?
Yeah, so we've been doing our homework ever since we were able to score tickets back in, what was it, February or something like that. There's a great podcast. It's called Burning Man Live. And in some of the earlier episodes this past year, they talked about exactly that. I think it was late 80s, early 90s. I'm sure someone that goes regularly is correcting me right now. But it started the first couple of years just as some friends and family on a beach in San Francisco, just south of the Golden Gate Bridge. They would construct the man. Back then, he was only about like 10 feet tall or whatever. And there might be, in the beginning, there's a couple dozen, and it grew to 100 or so in the later years. And eventually, it kept growing. And they're like, okay, the San Francisco cops wouldn't let them do it anymore. So they moved it out to the middle of nowhere out in the desert, Nevada, where on the federal land, they could get away with a lot more and start having a lot more people. And then like in the early 90s to the late 90s, it kept growing and growing, and they had to like plan more infrastructure. They had to have things like the Black Rock Rangers, like Charlie was just talking about. They had to basically plan a city. We always joke that at Bonnaroo, they're putting together a miniature city. They're really doing that at Burning Man. They went like just, 5,000, 10,000 people out in the desert to basically what, 70, 80, 90,000 in the past number of years. It's crazy too, because they really thrive on decommodification. So there is no company that owns Burning Man. There's a nonprofit that puts a lot of things together, as I understand it. But it's cool to me that it has grown from that like family gathering to like basically a much larger family gathering, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. So speaking of the what is it, the 10 rules, the 10
principles.
Yeah.
10 principles. For whatever reason, I kept thinking that the 10 commandments, but this is a completely different type of commandment here.
I don't know if they have tablets. Yeah.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to name these off here. So the Lord, edit this out. I'm starting over myself. The 10 principles, they are radical inclusion, gifting, decommodification, radical self-reliance, radical self-expression, communal effort, civic responsibility, leaving no trace, participation, and immediacy. What does all that in kind of like a nutshell mean? Like for the ones who don't know Burning Man, they don't know the 10 principles, kind of what does that look like for someone just looking through a window?
Well, I'll start by saying this. Does it sound familiar to you? Does it sound like another certain thing?
It sure does.
Yeah.
It sure does.
It's real funny. I spoke with Rick Farman earlier in the year, one of the co-founders of Bonnaroo that's with Superfly and is still there. Superfly is no longer part of Bonnaroo, but they're still doing stuff. He
Mhm.
went with a number of friends out to Burning Man, and they were like, hey, these 10 principles work pretty well. We should implement this at Bonnaroo. And that's kind of where that came from. They watered it
Really?
down to, yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah, they watered it down to like half, 5 as opposed to 10. But the 10 principles they had to have as a way to unite everyone and kind of keep like civic order. So because there is no clean vibes at Burning Man like there is at Bonnaroo, everybody has to do their part to leave no trace. It is a pristine desert that's on federal land out in Nevada, and there's a lot of Native American history out there too. So they want to leave it in better shape than they found it. The campground rule. So
Mhm.
a lot of what you hear in the 10 principles is part of that. And then there's a lot of other things like they don't want any corporate entity there. They want people to be able to rely on themselves, self-reliance. They don't want to make it a problem for anyone, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
everybody
Oh yeah.
to plan their own burn. That you got to come in with all of your own water. There's infrastructure there, but not like water fountains like we have at Bonnaroo. You got to bring in your own water. You got to
Mhm.
build out everything. All the entertainment itself is built by the community there. So we're able to rely on like Live Nation, AC Entertainment,
Right.
C3 or whatever to do entertainment and infrastructure. The community itself has to build it out for itself at Burning Man.
Wow. Okay. So very self-reliant and a huge community support, because if without it, it won't happen. Survival is literally on yourself and each other.
Yeah. And it doesn't sound as hard as it isn't as hard as it sounds, because when you've got that many people, 70 to 80,000 people, everybody is providing something. So we joke at Bonnaroo by saying the farm provides. Well, so does the playa.
Yeah.
And that's why so many people, excuse me, when they go, they do choose to join these big group camps at Burning Man. We didn't this year, but that's why so many people do come with a giant group of people, just so they can share all of these resources together.
Wow. So talking about that, let's kind of segue into what you guys are doing for your own camp setup. How are you preparing for your trip to the playa?
Well, we already had a lot of resources just by the sheer nature of going to Bonnaroo every year and just already having, a shade structure, having tents, having, shower items, things like that.
All the miscellaneous stuff.
All the miscellaneous stuff. We did have to replace, a few small things. Take the canopy, for example. It would just become a sail.
Yeah, it almost did when we had that storm on, what was it, Friday or Saturday
Right.
at Bonnaroo.
Yeah.
So we had to replace the top of the canopy with a netting thing, so it doesn't become, just a giant sail out in the desert. It's like a special net type of stuff that you have to put over it.
Yeah, usually they use that in the military out in the
It's like
desert.
a military netting. We're bringing a tent that we've used before. We're bringing
those lag screws. That's something they preach a lot, like on the Burning Man Reddit and in their forums. It's like you can't just use regular tent stakes. You got to have it like you drill it into the ground. And it's a foot long, so like the desert wind won't carry your stuff away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what are y'all preparing for if there's a desert storm that rolls in, like a whole dust thing that just comes in? What do you do to like prepare yourself for that? Because that's a whole thing.
Hunker down and wait it out.
But a lot of people will bring goggles, and we have night goggles, day goggles, a lot of masks, a lot of pashminas.
Yeah, put that over your face if it gets really dusty.
Mm-hmm.
Something we've learned in our research too is like it's a different kind of desert. It's not like Tatooine in Star Wars or whatever. It's not really sand, it's dust. Very, very fine grained stuff. So you got to be careful, like not to breathe it in too much. We already know all our stuff is going to get like nasty from all the dust. That's just something that you have to just live with. But we have mentally prepared ourselves for those kind of dust storms that might come out, because everybody's going to look like a sand person. It's okay.
Oh, completely. Just a bunch of sandy Wookiees walking around.
Us too.
dust, and we didn't. This is something that we actually didn't realize until recently. The dust is so bad. We actually have to, right after we leave, we're going to have to change our air filter in our car.
Yeah.
Like it's bad.
I've heard about people that have to do that. Like if they have their vehicle or their camper or their bus, where they have to do a specific taping method, like to tape every single seam in their car and their window, protecting their filters, changing out their filters, and just all of the fine details that us regular Bonnaroo goers don't really think about, because we're not fighting that dust, we're fighting humidity, which is a whole nother beast. But to really protect yourself and your internal self from all that dust, there's so much more you got to go into it that I don't think I really realized.
Yeah. In fact, you just reminded me, we need to get some of that plastic wrap to put on the grill of your car. Yeah. So it doesn't get up.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you. But also, yeah, we're going to be taping it up and like try, unless there's an absolute emergency, not to open up the doors on her Subaru until we leave. Go ahead and get everything out and put it in our tent in our little campsite. So that doesn't happen. I mean, I already know it's going to be nasty. We'll have to go through a car wash like 2 or 3 times after the fact or whatever. And it's going to be weird coming back all the way back from Nevada to Huntsville with everything nasty. But that's okay.
So y'all are driving from Alabama all the way to Burning Man.
Yep. And I'm looking forward to that as well. I've always wanted to do like a big cross country drive like that. The furthest we have gone before is like Texas. So this is going to be new territory, and I'm really excited about that.
So where are y'all going to make your pit stops along the way?
So we're going from here, from North Alabama to Arkansas, like northwest Arkansas, middle of Arkansas.
Just a little outside of Little Rock.
Yeah, that's where Daniel's mom lives, and we're going to try to stay the night with her. And then we're going from there. We're driving all the way to, where's the next place, Daniel?
Well, we're going to drive. So we will leave Saturday morning, and then we're not really going to stop until we get to Henderson, Nevada, just south of Vegas, on Sunday night.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to stop and rest.
Yeah.
So like we splurged and got a month of the Planet Fitness Black membership, so we can stop and take a shower.
Yeah.
I learned that hack from Bonnaroo.
Smart.
And then we're going from Henderson to, we're taking a little bit of a detour, and we're going to go see like the
aliens.
The aliens, like the little Area 51 area.
Yes.
We're really excited about that.
Oh, that's great.
I don't think they're going to be there though, because they're on their way to Burning Man too.
True.
But
definitely.
I learned this from Brooklyn. She went there about 3 years ago in the pre-pandemic life. She took a big road trip and she went through Rachel, Nevada. There's a little inn there. It's the little alien. Yeah, exactly. There's a bar and they have burgers and stuff. So I'm going to stop there for a minute. And I promised her, she's watching Ricky the Cat for me while I'm gone. So I'm getting her this particular brand of alien tequila that they have there.
Oh, that is so funny. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's really great. I love that.
Well, we'll get to Burning Man that Monday, probably about like 6, 7 o'clock. Just where there'll be an hour and a half so we can set up camp and then start wandering around and see what we can get into.
Okay. So for first-time burners, don't they do a ritual by the time you get to the front gates?
Supposedly, when you get there, there's like 2 different gates. There's the first one you have to pass, and then at the second gate, you're supposed to get out and make a desert dust angel.
Well, they'll ask you, like, hey, have you been here before, or is this your first time? And if it's your first time, you must become a virgin no more. You have to roll into the dust and just get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I love that tradition so much. Whenever I was doing some research and just like watching documentaries on YouTube, just seeing all of the new burners that walk in and they get out of their cars and they're rolling around in the dust, making dust angels, throwing it at each other. And it is just a beautiful, just kind of like a welcome to the playa. You're getting dirty. Let's go.
You know, that's another one of the things where I feel like we share a lot of similarities from Bonnaroo to Burning Man, because like Sharla and I really thrive on experiencing it through a rookie's eyes. Like we try always to bring somebody that has never been in the bus with us. So we had Joseph, our good buddy, came with us. And as people have heard already, he absolutely thrived. So I have heard that from burners too. They love having a rookie in their camp or trying to introduce themselves to rookies and give them suggestions and ask how things are going. So yeah, we're looking forward to making friends.
Nice. Now, let me ask you this. Do you know where you guys are going to be camped? Because the way that Burning Man sets up their camp, it's almost like a half clock dial.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do you know where you're going to be at?
Not exactly, but thereabouts, kind of.
Yes. So I think the solo camps, are at section C.
Like the last 3 roads on the outside of like the big clock. So somewhere okay, so picture this in your mind. It is a big circle. Of course, some of it is empty. That's where like a lot of the mutant cars go. We can talk about that later. But I think it goes from approximately like 2 p.m. on a clock to about 10 p.m. We know that we're going to be on one of the last streets, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 3 to 4 p.m., something like that. We've already kind of mapped out, so I know where I can get ice. I know where the cars are going to be, where we can get on a mutant car. Some of the other things that will be kind of in our neighborhood over there. We don't know exactly where we're going to be, but that's okay because I kind of know whereabouts.
Nice. So let's go ahead and talk about the mutant cars. So with all of us going to Bonnaroo, we are very familiar with Calliope.
Mm-hmm.
So Calliope is a mutant car, and they are originators from Burning Man. And, they travel from different festivals when they're allowed, but they always come back to Burning Man. So with the mutant cars, what do you think is going to be out there this year? Like, because there are so many different visuals, so many creations that people just come up with. And I think there are rules and regulations because they are registered vehicles.
Yes.
But kind of like, what do you think you're going to see when you guys get out there?
So I joined a lot of Burning Man Facebook groups, and there's different Facebook groups for different sectors, and a lot of the theme camps will join the different groups based on whatever sector they're in, and they'll advertise their art cars. They're like theme cars.
Well, I didn't see that.
And so forth. So I was watching this TikTok, and this girl was talking about Burning Man. And she said that one time they were just chilling at their camp, and this guy comes up and he's chilling with them. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm just waiting. My sheep is going to pick me up." And they're like, "Okay,
you're what?"
Maybe he's just on some party favors, maybe he's on some bite,
Yep.
He's just going, and he's like, "Yeah, my sheep's going to come pick me up. Whatever." And they sat there for like a good hour, and then his sheep came and picked him up. A giant ass sheep came and picked this guy up.
A giant truck contraption.
He got on it and drove away.
Wow.
Little Miss Bo Peep went on her sheep.
Yes. So to answer your question, it could be literally anything.
Yeah, we don't know. I purposely don't want to know. Like, there's only 1 or 2 that go every year that I know about. There's one that hosts a lot of EDM stuff that I'm going to try to find. I know where it's going to be. But other than that, we really have no idea. They have a DMV of their own, but it's the Department of Mutant Vehicles. Mm-hmm. They are very strict about what defines a mutant vehicle. It has to be almost like completely different from what it started out from. So the Rubus would not qualify as a mutant vehicle out there. Like, we could use it as an RV, but we would not be able to drive it around the playa because it still looks like a school bus. True, they wouldn't allow that.
True.
It has to be like modified beyond belief.
Right.
Wow. And like a legit spaceship just cruising around.
Oh, yeah.
And some camps won't post their mutant vehicles because they don't want it to be, they want it to be a spoil. I mean, they don't want spoilers getting out there. Yeah. They want it to be a surprise.
Yeah, I thought Bonnaroovians took spoilers seriously. No, burners are. Some people don't even want to know like where camps are going to be or any schedule whatsoever.
Wow. So, what about seeing performers and musicians and like random acts of people? Does it give a lineup or a breakdown of anything, or is it one of those that you just show up and you just stumble across something?
So there's a lot of like discrepancy about that. So a lot of people that have been going for a long time will have this like argument that Burning Man is not a music festival. So there's no real lineup, but there are DJs that play there.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, there's performers literally all over the place, literally just playing here, there, and everywhere.
A lot of individual camps have started posting their schedules in the past couple of days.
Yes.
And I've been making my own schedule in my notebook that I'm taking along with me. So like in the past couple of days, I now know I will be able to see Tycho at sunrise. I knew that was happening anyways. That was one of the few to-dos for me. But now, as of the past 24 hours, I know that Rufus Du Sol is going to be there. I know that Alice
beautiful.
is going to be there. Diplo. What are some of the other ones?
Those are the main ones.
Those are the main ones. There will be probably others that we just won't know about until we come across it.
You really just got to get on the Burning Man Reddit, get on all the Burning Man Facebook groups, and just kind of find out, what are the artists, what DJs are playing when, or at what camps, at what time, where, or what street that they're playing on, things like that.
Word will get out. If there's something you want to see, somebody is going to tell you once you're there.
Right, and it's like kind of like the secret shows at Bonnaroo.
Yes.
That's why
You remember that year that Jason Mraz played a secret show, and like people had put up signs in their campgrounds near the arch, like, "Hey, go over here at 2:00 if you want to see Jason."
Yeah, that's very comparable to it. Yeah.
Nice. I love that. So aside from the music, now I know a lot of the camps, like the big group camps, they have their own theme, but also they do their own performances or their own version of their gift to the playa. One of our good buddies from Bonnaroo, an enigma of sorts, he is actually with his own group that's going to be there on the playa. And I believe their group name is called, I may butcher this, Incandescence, I believe.
Oh, yes. I've heard about that.
They do an entire fire performance, fire dancing, fire, like blow torches, like fire breathing, everything flames, and just beautiful visuals. What are some things that you think you might see out there that's like around that?
Well, there's one in particular I'm going to make a point to stop by and see. There is a Thunderdome.
Yes.
There is a camp that puts together a giant dome, it's probably like, I don't know, like 30 feet tall. And it is basically what you think it would be. People ride on these big bungee cords and they fight with foam Nerf bats or whatever.
I've seen the YouTube. Okay, yes.
I don't know if I'm going to fight, but I definitely want to climb on the thing and watch the fake violence for myself.
Oh, that's awesome. See, that would be so fun to just get on your bikes, drive through, and all of a sudden you see these huge people just fighting each other, flying through the air, and just you just can't not stop and look at this. It's like, all right, we're going in here. We're going to see what's going on.
And if somebody comes up to me and says like, "Hey man, you want to go in?" It's probably going to be on.
Game on.
Hey, we're just breaking in here to thank our Patreon.
Yeah, this was actually during a Zoom break while we were all going to get a drink or going to the potty, and we came back with Celia. So good time to come in and do this. Sharla, can you list off our Patreons?
Absolutely. We've got Perry, Preston, a.k.a. Presto, Nick, Maddie, Sean, Mick Ferg, Andrew, William, John, Captain Dan, Lucy, Benjamin, Ross, Kent, Michael, Randy, Joshua, Madison, Scott, Greg, Eric, and Ben. Natalie, Beyond the Hypnotic, that's Jace, Evan, Jay, Chloe, and Sean.
Hey, I saw Jay is headed to that Odessa show in Atlanta. I think she's going to run into
Brooklyn.
Mitchell and Brooklyn are there. Yeah.
Yes.
So please have fun at that. We were talking on Twitter today. It seems like they are a fair candidate to headline Bonnaroo next year.
You think
perhaps.
So?
Yeah, I think their name should be considered. So, yeah, I know there's a lot of Ruvians headed to that Odessa show in Atlanta.
There's a lot of people going to that show.
Yeah. This is going to release
Christy's
on Tuesday.
going, I think.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
So you may be listening to this on your way to that. Let us know how it was. Send pictures. Anyway, you can find us at patreon.com/Rubus. All of our Patreons that you just heard listed were helping us out with our Bonnaroo project at Burning Man that Celia is about to ask us about here in just a moment. We will tell you about that in the actual episode. Let's just get back to it.
Okay.
So let's switch gears a little bit. I want to get kind of sentimental in a way. So we all know Burning Man is the burn of the man, but there's more to it than just the actual burn. There's so much sentimental value that goes into the creation of the burn, the man itself, and even the temple. Is that correct? That they have a temple that they build with the man?
Yeah, that's right. So, like, of course, the man is in the center of the big circle, but then behind
Mm-hmm.
that, kind of in the area where there are no camps, is the temple. And it's different every year as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I've seen and read so many things that people will take sentimental things of, maybe photos of loved ones or love letters from past lovers or things that they wish they could have done or, just the woulda, coulda, should haves, what ifs. And they take it to the temple and they put it into the wood itself to be burned. So, with that, have you guys planned on taking anything to put into the temple?
I don't know if I'm going to take anything. I kind of thought about taking something, but with this being my very first Burning Man, I think I'd rather just experience it and see what it's about before I take something.
Yeah.
And not knowing the setting and me not knowing the surrounding, I feel like I might be kind of out of my element a little bit, if that makes sense. Even though I did have a very significant loss this year, I don't know if I would be in my element and be in my right mind space to be able to do that really this year. So I think I'd rather just maybe experience it this year. And if I go back another year, which hopefully I will, if I go back another year, then maybe I can take something and bring that experience with me.
Yeah.
I feel like that particular part is something that we want to show like respect to, since we know secondhand and through reading a lot and researching a lot, kind of like the Burning Man traditions and how things go. But that is considered by many people in kind of like a almost spiritual way to be a little bit of a sacred space. So it's not something that I want to step on and do incorrectly. I'll put it in terms that other people in the Deep South might recommend. You don't want to show up at a new church and sit in somebody else's pew. Like, that is a great offense. It's something definitely that we want to observe. Like, we'll go see it, of course, and I want to see what it's about. And maybe if we get there and like we kind of come to understand from someone like, hey, you can write a name on this, it's cool, we would definitely do that, I think. But yeah, that is something that I have thought about. The past couple of years have been rough for a lot of people. Like we've had losses as well, so I do want to take part in that if I can do it in the right and respectable way. And I've heard from a number of people that is something that you want to take, some consideration into, because I had mentioned before that land that Burning Man takes place on is also important to a lot of Native American First Nation people. So when it comes to something that is spiritual in that respect, I want to follow the right lead.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a beautiful approach for sure. Because it is uncharted territory for you guys being first time burners and only seeing things which is hearsay or what we've seen on Reddit or Instagram or YouTube, and just seeing things through other people's perspectives, but actually going into the temple and seeing it for yourself and feeling the energy, not just from the temple, but from the people that are into the temple. It seems like a very strong place to be in emotionally.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good place to just kind of sit in silence and meditate. I think of it similarly to like going to like a Hindu or a Buddhist temple. Like in a place like that, it's totally cool for you to come in and sit down and contemplate and meditate as well. They welcome anyone.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to approach it in that way. If we're invited for something or someone teaches us something, then sure.
Yeah. No, that's so cool because I've seen so many things of where people they'll park their bikes or they'll park their whatever it is that they're hanging out and like ever so gently kind of walk into the temple and just take it in silence and just really appreciate it for what it is, even not understanding what it truly is.
Yeah.
So I
have read that.
I'm really.
Oh, sorry. Doom is stupid sometimes. I have read that with a lot of the other burns, well, practically every other burn, like when the man burns or when some of the artwork burns, people are hoping and hollering, but when the temple burns, everyone just looks on in silence.
Yeah. That's wild. It's beautiful. And it's such a different burn between the two,
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really excited to hear when y'all get back kind of what your perspective of each burn was and what it represents to you and what you have learned from it.
Yeah.
And just to really kind of go forward with bigger eyes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah. So speaking of bikes and traveling, did y'all create bikes?
Oh, well,
Yes,
you take this one.
So, I mean, we already have bikes that and we ride, well, not like mountain biking or anything, but we ride in our neighborhood almost every night.
A lot in the summertime. Yeah.
So we took the bikes that we had and we put lights all over them. We actually already had lights on the tires. And so we added lights around all the entire bike. So around whatever the piece in the middle is. The frame, sorry. And just pretty much lights all over the bike. I mean, we didn't, go to the extreme. We didn't add fur or stuffed animals or anything like that. We did put a Ricky. We're going to put a Ricky.
Yeah.
On the front
like
of
our
the
totem.
bike, like our totem.
Oh my gosh, yes. Ricky's coming to the playa.
Yes.
Well, also we needed something that would make it stand out and make it clear that these two bikes are together,
Yeah. So I know that y'all have been working on bringing a little bit of the farm to the playa. What have you guys created to represent Bonnaroo and the Bonnaroo community to Burning Man?
Well, I'll let Daniel talk about that because he's been working on that the most.
Yeah. So thanks to our Patreons, we have a couple of projects it's all in one project really for our camp. So the first step was putting together this big PVC arch that I think I'll be able to reuse unless the desert destroys it. We got a buttload of PVC from Home Depot and Lowe's. It took a little trial and error to get it the way I wanted to, and also to make sure that it was stable so it could withstand the desert wind and such. I'm still going to strap it to a table to make sure it doesn't fall over or anything. So I did that, and then Sharla found some spray paint that was pretty close to the color of the Rubus. And then I took a bunch of clear tape and went over it so it wouldn't get scratched up and lose the color, and also it'd become a little bit more durable. I'm hoping that it's going to be a little bit of a bug zapper to other Bonnaroovians that will see it. You're not supposed to have anything that's like corporate in nature, and Bonnaroo is, it's owned by Live Nation. So it's not going to say Bonnaroo on it, but if somebody sees it, if they've been to Bonnaroo, they're going to know what it is, and it'll be a conversation piece. But also,
I love that.
Yeah, and we're also going to have a big sign hanging from our canopy that says "Radiate Positivity Here." And the idea is there's going to be a box, and people will take a note and write something positive about themselves or Burning Man or somebody else or just anything, and put it in the box. And then when we come back, we'll read all of them or the best ones, depending on how many we get on the podcast.
Oh, that is so cool. That was going to be one of my questions of, what is it that you're kind of contributing, if you will, to the playa? And that is such a cool idea, because even on the farm, you see so many camps, they'll have, a whole sheet of stuff, and then there'll be markers and say, write your name here, or write something, or take a gift, leave a gift, and all this, that, and the other. I love that you're doing that to kind of blend in the two events into one.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. And Daniel says that he has a way to stake it down, so hopefully it doesn't fly off.
No, I'm making sure of that. It's going to be strapped to other things that are like drilled into the desert. It's okay.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like drill it down and then drill it down a little further and then hit it one more time.
I think we'll be good. But yeah, that's kind of what we're going to try. And like, I'm going to try to bring the type of positivity from Bonnaroo there. Like a lot of the 20-year veterans of Burning Man seem, I don't want to say they're cynical, but let's just say they're a desert kind of crusty. I want to bring a refreshing splash of water to them a little bit. Bring some of the Rue vibes.
I love that. From a 10-year Rue vet. Hey, this is going to be our 10-year anniversary going to Rue.
Yep.
And you guys bringing that as first-year veterans to the playa is such a really cool representation.
I think there is a connection between the two. We spoke about Rick Farman, who got a lot of the modern Bonnaroo from Burning Man. I do think there is a back and forth, whether people know it or not. they say Burning Man isn't a festival, and we'll report back and let you know what we think about
Yeah.
that. But I think there's a big connection in terms of the communities. Like a lot of the people that go to Burning Man, they stay in touch just like we do.
Mm-hmm.
They put a lot of their own stuff together out in the camps just like we do. We have talked to people in the past. Remember we parked near someone that does both? Yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, like Daniel was saying, there's a lot of people that say Burning Man's not a festival. It's not a festival compared to Coachella.
No.
Right.
You don't go out to the desert and then go back to your hotel. But I think as far as community aspect of it, I would definitely compare it to Bonnaroo as far as community aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I've seen so far, I mean, I haven't been yet, but from what I've seen as far as community aspect, because I mean, you can literally get online right now and see like the Facebook groups of themed camps.
Yeah, their Reddit is popping right now.
Right.
With a lot of different
things.
It is completely popping. I mean, you can see the community aspect of it right now, literally online. So
yeah, and I mentioned this last week. This is in some ways a fact-finding thing for me. I want to see more community-driven stuff at Bonnaroo. Mm-hmm. I feel like we have had a number of things the past couple of years. We probably would be further along if it wasn't for COVID and missing a couple of years. But I want to witness how they do it at Burning Man, how the community puts on its own event, how they're doing these things in their version of the campgrounds, and learn more about how it could be done back at Rue. And I'm not even talking about events that we put on at the Rue Bus. I'm talking in terms of like enabling everyone to do that. This past year, a lot of those things happened in the group area with that Galactic Giddy Up. We talked about that. Mm-hmm. But I want to know how those things can happen throughout the whole campground at Bonnaroo. And I think like Burning Man is probably the best example in the world about how that's done. So I'm going to be taking notes.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, y'all are going to learn so much and be so exposed to a completely different life of camping with just everything that you're about to see with the different groups, just a different mindset. Though it is very similar to Bonnaroo, it's a different breed of people, a different breed of camping for sure. I'll be really curious to see what you bring back with you guys.
The one thing I think I do know now, even not having stepped foot yet, is everything is more participatory. Isn't that one of the principles? Participation,
right?
Like there are a good chunk of us that go to Bonnaroo that are trying to participate, but for the large part, people are going there to be entertained, and that's cool. They're going there to see the acts on the stages and see what everybody else is putting on. But I want to learn, how do we encourage more people to participate at Bonnaroo? That's kind of what I'm trying to get a takeaway from Burning Man. It's like, how do we make that happen? I want to see more of that in our community.
Yeah. Well, that'll be really cool to see what you come up with and what you bring back. And even just the smallest little love nugget that you bring back will make such a huge difference too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's part of the reason.
Yeah. So speaking of the burn, when in the week does the burn actually happen? And is there a representation or a big meaning behind the burn?
Oh man, I feel like that's one of those things we're there to learn as well. So
yeah.
We will miss the big burn of the man itself, because like a lot of people are going to be there. They're from in the neighborhood around California or whatever, but we got to drive all the way back and be back in time for work. So I do think we're going to be able to see the temple burn, but I don't think we're going to be able to see the man burn. I do think it's a big catharsis for a lot of people. Right. Like for us at Rue, maybe this is a good metaphor. The catharsis for us is like the epic moment of a headliner on the what stage and the fireworks after or whatever. That's it for them. That's the big event that everybody's at. So many times in the past at Rue, like they shut the rest of Cinderoo down for the headliner. Think of the Cardinals 10 years ago. Nothing else happening because they want everybody there. That's kind of the deal when they burn the man. Nothing else is happening. You need to be there to witness that. It's like the big community event that everyone gathers at. And I hate that we're going to miss it, but we don't have infinite space.
Now, Burning Man, is it a 2-week event?
It goes
is that correct? Or
Sunday to Sunday, I believe.
Sunday to Sunday, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so a solid week.
Yes.
Wow.
Which, if you think about it, we're almost at a solid week at Bonnaroo, too.
Yeah,
I know. Especially if they keep adjusting, the entrance days the way that they have been the last couple years. We're almost there at a full week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So, what are some things that you want to share with the community, if there is anything you want to share with the community? Still not really knowing what's going to happen until you get there, but with the knowledge that you do have, what is that you want to give to the Bonnaroo community as a like a parting gift or a love nugget gift?
YOLO. No.
YOLO.
No, she's not wrong.
No, seriously, because we always wanted to go. Like, and it's really is one of those things. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. And I just this year it just we were just, hey, how do you get tickets? When we Googled how to get tickets, and we just got the tickets and did it. Like,
Well, I'll put it this way. I think we learned a lot about life in the past
exactly,
2 years, and we
exactly.
learned you never know. So some things maybe you don't want to put off for forever.
Right.
Make it happen while
Yeah.
you have the chance. It's not always possible. You never know what tomorrow is going to bring.
And
so if there's something you want to do, get out and do it.
There's a misconception, I believe, about Burning Man that you have to know somebody to go, or that you have to be part of a big camp to go, or a big group to go. No, it's just me and Daniel that are going. We went online, we bought tickets, and we're going. There's no, you have to know somebody. You don't. I mean, it helps.
Did a lot of planning for this cross country trip.
We did a lot of planning. Don't get me wrong, and we are, relying on ourselves to go. We did have to buy the tickets, within, literally seconds of them going on sale.
We did get lucky. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, we got lucky.
Very, very lucky.
But we're just going, so it's not. You can do it too. Is where I'm going.
Because I remember having that conversation with y'all.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Bonnaroo 2019, 2018? About wanting to go to Burning Man. And you're like, let's get a group together. Let's see if we can do something. Let's get it done. And then life happened.
I feel like I got a question for you. You clearly want to go, don't you?
I do.
Let's do it.
What's stopping you? You're going on these trips out west. I'll put it this way. It is a little tricky to get tickets because but we found some ways to increase your odds with that. Basically, have every computer in the house, every iPad in the house open.
A lot of browsers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That honestly right there is one of the biggest things that has made me a little nervous about moving forward, because that's something I always heard was you got to know somebody, you got to have connections, you got to be invited to go, or X, Y, and Z, and even to figuring out how to live out there, with the dust. And do we camp? Do we fly out there and buy stuff? Do we do a road trip? Like, it's the intricate details,
right,
that really kind of like put a stop in my track of like, okay, wait. Am I mentally ready to prepare for this? I don't know.
It's not as exhaustive as we thought it was going to be. So we did have that discussion when we were playing around with the ideas, like, do we fly in, do we drive? The trick is if you're out near the East Coast, like all of us are for the most part at Bonnaroo, if you fly in, then you got to think about renting a car. Will the car rental place even rent it to you if they know you're going to Burning Man? You got to get all your supplies once you're out there. So for us, the calculus was a little different. We were like, okay, if we drive, we can put everything in the back of the Subaru and have most of what we need. Then it was a matter of plotting it out, finding where we were going to get a hotel on the way there, on the way back a couple of times. Just things like that. But it wasn't insurmountable. After about a week of thinking about it, we were like, we could do this. And then the next step was actually getting the tickets, which was a little tricky. You got to plan that out, know exactly when to hit refresh and stuff, but we got very lucky. It's not as insurmountable as I think a lot of people think it is.
Yeah, it always seemed so daunting. So it's interesting to know that you guys are going for this, and it's just you two going. Like, you're not relying on any groups. You weren't invited by anybody else. You're just balls to the wall. Let's go. And you're going.
Well, we do know a couple of other Bonnaroovians already that are going to be there.
Do you? Okay. Is it anyone we may know that's going to be there?
It was some of the crew from Camp Red Roo. Derek
and Jeffrey.
Yes.
Very cool.
You may have met them, I think, actually.
Probably.
I ran into them a couple of times at Roo, and then Red Roo had a last Sunday night party after Stevie Nicks, and we kind of had a little moment where they were like, all right, Burning Man is next. Are you ready? And they started giving me some advice, and it's like, see you there.
I love that. The seed was planted, and you got your tickets. Now y'all are going.
Yeah, I think part of us had thought that like maybe this is a one and done, but maybe we'll fall in love and come back. We got some other travels that we want to do, but I can't say that we won't be back.
Yeah,
we'll see how it goes. I'll report back.
to be continued. I'm looking forward to hear from future Dan and Sharla.
Yeah.
We may come back and be like, Celia, you're going with us.
Let's go. But really though, like that is something that I really would love to do, because like I'm always watching so many documentaries and YouTube clips of Burning Man, and I know so much just from the ground surface level, and it calls to me, man. It just really calls to me. It's just pulling the trigger and doing it, you know?
Yeah, well, I will tell you from the little experience we have, pulling the trigger wasn't that hard. Just saying.
Pew 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 pew.
I think you should go. I'm going to come back and like talk you into it.
Okay, challenge accepted.
Yeah.
But really though, after y'all get back and like hearing all of the stories, seeing all of your things, I mean, who knows? Maybe we can come back and do a review podcast of from future Dan and Sharla.
Now,
And from
I'll
there,
tell
like,
you.
all right, let's go.
Theoretically, if this goes well and we come back talking people into it, I would love nothing more than to have a Ruvian camp at Burning Man with a couple of dozen. That'd be so fun.
Yes, that'd be amazing.
Yes. Yep. I would love that. Count me in. I'm in.
Well, that's a future task. We'll get that. Yeah.
Well, for the most part, that's pretty much all the questions that I've come up with. But is there anything that you guys want to talk about while we have the platform and opportunity?
Oh gosh, we covered it, I think. Can you think of anything?
Yeah.
I'll just reiterate what I said. Like, man, I think we've all learned the hard way in different ways the past couple of years. Life is short. You just don't know what's going to happen. So if there's some crazy bucket list thing that anybody else wants to do, whether it be Burning Man or traveling to some exotic location or whatever it is, quit waiting. Do the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Love that. Appreciate that. All right. Well, guys, this has been phenomenal, but we'll wrap up here where we're at. And I really hope that you guys have a safe trip down there and enjoy the time that you have. Soak it in. Take all the photos. Enjoy the things. Enjoy all the Bud Lights and all the things that come with it. And get on those dang mutant cars.
Oh, I plan on it. If for whatever reason, if a miracle happens and we're able to get cell signal, I'm going to take one moment to give you a call from there.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll love it. If I don't answer, leave a voicemail.
Yes.
We will.
It might be very, very confusing.
Yes.
But you know what though? I totally get it. Aliens understand aliens. I see you. I see you.
Absolutely. Hey, we need to see you for too long. We're going to be up in Nashville before too long. We'll start plotting some stuff out once we get back. I want to come see you. We need to get.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a meetup of a number of Rugians, kind of like we did that one time in front of the Parthenon.
Oh, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, after it cools off, when it's not like I said, Satan's butthole outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, forget that. All right, guys. Well, we'll hop off here. You guys have a good night. Have fun at Burning Man.
Well, thank you, Celia. Thank you so much for doing this. We're going to come back and tell you all about it. Everybody, thank you. We will see you on the other side once we get back. I think we're going to publish a few things on the road. We'll see. When we get back, I think we're going to really start diving into more Bonnaroo things. It'll be rumor season before you know it.
True, yeah.
Yeah, things are going to go quick. Thank you, Celia. We appreciate you. We love you. Everybody, y'all.
Thank you.
Y'all get out there and radiate positivity.
Bye.
Adios.